Hello and welcome, Exile. Today I finally finished out maxing out the town, and I don't think anyone's made a full video going over every single upgrade. I believe there's probably been Reddit posts about each one specifically, but I wanted to do a condensed showcase of all the upgrades you get from upgrading every single thing to max, and what the benefits are and what I've learned while doing it. Now to start off with, let's start off with mining. The last and final upgrade is marking ore in areas grants gold equal to the amount of ore. This is roughly equivalent to about 1,000 to 2,000 extra gold per map. When you're in red maps, those ore deposits start giving you about 1,000 resource each time, and it matches it with gold. Outside of that, the other upgrades they do later on are things like getting up to 12 miners, and then of course upgrading all the way so you can mine verisium, stuff like that. But the big upgrade, the 11th one, gives you extra gold. I'd recommend prioritizing this first because everything else in your town, you are going to be gated by how much gold you can to upgrade the other things. So I would prioritize upgrading this first because gold is a very important resource to upgrade the other things, and this just gives you another 1,000 to 2,000 gold per map. Would highly recommend. Next up, looking at farming, the final upgrades are some weird things like being able to get extra crop yield per different crop you have planted in total, and increased crop speed per adjacent plot being farmed. So for example, there's two adjacent ones to this, that'd be a 20% increase speed to this, that'd be a 30% increase speed to this. Basically, it's just multipliers to how fast they do farm resources, and it adds up quite a bit. By the end of it, you can have 6 total plots for 18 farmers. Now, as far as the whole crux of getting currency or getting loot from Kingsmarch goes, I haven't tested mapping a bunch, but I know for sure farming is something that they do just based on you supplying them gold, and farming gets you currency back from shipping. So I would prioritize, if I was going to prioritize something in terms of spending gold, farming is the key to getting divines and chaos from the shipping mechanic, and it runs no matter whether or not you want to interact with the mechanic or not. So I'd say if you're somebody who doesn't really like the mechanic, doesn't care about it too much, I'd recommend to just upgrade farming to max and then keep supplying the town with gold. And then when you're ready, spend a lot of all your resources sending out really big shipments with some high level ship farmers. And that would require very little interaction with the league mechanic, and you'd still benefit a lot of divines on average per day just from the resources these guys are bringing in. I've probably have gotten about 10 divines from the mechanic, and I've probably sent about 30k of each resource. Now that I have them upgraded, once you get those farmers to 10, they start farming those resources very fast, and it's just a matter of supplying them with gold. So if you have something where you want to be like, what should I do with my gold? Put it into farming. It's very, very good. Now, next up, we have the town hall. This is basically where you increase the amount of workers you can have in total. If you're just going to target farming specifically, you probably don't need to upgrade this as much. That being said, the ability to get rank 10 farmers, you need to have the town hall at least rank 10, and the ability to increase your or decrease your cost of reroll, which is this thing right here. That's a rank 11 upgrade. And I will say this, between the high quality recruits and the regular rerolls, I don't think the 20k reroll is worth it. I think it's better just to spam low-level recruits until you hit the rank 10 of the various guys you want, rather than spending the 20k to get the higher quality recruits. I'll do it real quick here just to show you what it looks like. And we got a rank 10 boat and a rank 10 map, which is pretty decent. But that costs 20k, which is the equivalent of re-rolling like 12 or 13 times. So let's just do a little comparison here. If I'm going to buy these guys and say, okay, I got 2 rank 10s and a rank 9. Let me go ahead and re-roll this 12 times, and we'll see how many we get. Rank 1, nothing. Rank 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't make me a liar, 7. Okay, there's a rank 10 farming, so there's 1. 8, 9, 10... 11, 12, 13, 2 farmers, 14, and a rank 9 farmer. And I think I got 2 rank 10s and a rank 9. So that was roughly comparable. I think that was kind of lucky for the 20k reroll to get 2 rank 10s like that. I'm still not necessarily convinced by it, but hopefully, I mean, do what you will. I think doing the smaller rerolls, getting more targeted upgrades is a little bit more convenient. Now, let's go into the smelting. Smelting doesn't really have anything interesting. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not convinced too much that I would prioritize this one of the last things I'd upgrade, because the smelting speed that's about all it has. It's just extra smelters and smelting speed. And ultimately, as far as I can tell from the loot I've gotten, the main thing that's been valuable to me has been the currency. and not the actual like rewards from the bars, which is like armors and stuff like that. I will say this, if you're an SSF, this is a lot more valuable because there's a lot of decent rolled stuff you get back from bars. But from the trade league perspective, it's not valuable enough to justify it. I think I've gotten one pair of gloves that I sold for 3 div and maybe one other item I sold for 1. So I got about 4 div from the ores sending out resources, but that didn't feel as valuable as things like crops and farming where I just get raw currency. I don't have to trade or anything. Now, one of the most interesting parts, and something that you're going to want to upgrade regardless of whether you like the league mechanic or not, is this, because it unlocks basically a lot of power. For my build specifically, it gave me like 150% more damage. Gain 50%, it goes up to gain 50% as extra. I'm going to hover over each enchant. You could pause the video if you want to look at them specifically, but I'm going to just do this real slowly. And you can pause to look at different things or read them if you want to. But all the big enchants are required by a power rune, which is the final upgrade, the T10 upgrade to the smithy, I believe it is. Allows you to do crafts with the power rune, and those are the really big ones. Return proj, gain is extra, soul gain prevention, tormented spirits haunt you. There's a lot of interesting ones that are quite powerful, and most of them are tied to specifically the power rune. There's a few crafts that you can do without the power rune, but those crafts are, like for example, local 100% increased elemental damage. You're going to see 3k LE DPS weapons, maybe even 4k with properly synthed items. But all this sort of stuff is limited by this crafting bench, and they can get quite expensive. So that's the crafting bench. Look through it. Some are better than others. I think they tried to prioritize giving the better crafts to the weaker base types. So for example, a best in slot base type for a lot of people is a claw, whereas they gave a lot of better crafts to like swords or daggers, or for example, 2-hand swords, which got all of the good crafts. So keep in mind, look through the crafts. Certain crafts might make you rethink your base choice. Now let's go on to shipping. Shipping, I have come to the conclusion that based on what other people discovered and what I've seen, to me, it seems like it's more beneficial to just I don't know. You could ship more often and thus encounter the pirate more to get gold, because the pirate gives a lot of gold. Or you could just hold off and only ship when you have a bunch of loot to go for a really big shipment, like just maxing out everything possible. I have been told if you have all 10, if you have 6 rank 10 crewmates, that even no matter how much value you put onto something, it will still give you back a 0 risk if you have all rank 10 shipmates. So I'm probably going to try that out, and maybe I'll just have one boat with rank 10 shipmates, and I might start doing some max out shipments. And I think what I'll probably prioritize is I'll just look at the different ports and what they offer bonuses for, and I'll max out for those specific bonuses, because if I'm going to send all my wheat, I might as well get the 75% bonus on it. I'm not sure there's a benefit to doing a mix and match of a bunch of variety of different things. So hopefully that makes some level of sense. Or I accidentally ship all my currency away without even thinking about it, I'm going to just cancel this. So anyways, that's shipping. This is pretty worth upgrading, I think, for the most part, just for the shipping speed that you get at the later ranks. The ports are more quota, this more rewarding. Very, very important. I think this is about a rank 9 or rank 10 upgrade. And the shipping speed is rank 9 or rank 10. So I would definitely upgrade it all the way, even if you're just going to do what I'm probably going to end up doing, which is one ship all the way min-max, and then just doing targeted send-outs for basically meeting quotas. So anyways, that's shipping. Now moving on to disenchanting, I have to say, I am really bummed out with disenchanting and recombinating, because recombinating got killed. I know I'm talking about disenchanting, but basically the reason you need a lot of dust is to power your recombinator. But from what I can tell, I'm gonna have to play with it more when I have more currency. This thing got destroyed in terms of odds. It does not work the same way. I believe it's either considering mod tier weighting when combining items, or it's considering the item level required to roll the mods. It's something like that. I don't know exactly. I'll have to do a lot of testing to actually figure it out, but I'm going to wait until I actually have currency to just burn to mess with this thing to really get a good idea. And maybe somebody else is doing that in-depth testing right now. But the point is, dust you mainly need for recombination, and the recombination isn't very good, so you don't really use dust for that. And then for shipping, there is very heavy diminishing returns, where if I say I have this min-maxed and I put in 8,000, that's where you get to a 3x multiplier. Say I put in 3,000, that's 3.7 million. What happens if I go all the way to max? I go to 900K. It only goes a little bit higher. It gets up to like maybe a 3.5, 3.7 multiplier. The point I'm trying to make here, or I guess it goes up to 4 at this point. The point I'm trying to make here is it just heavily drops off in returns with the amount of dust you put in. So it's really not that worth doing to create that much dust when for your shipments, you only really need about 8K to get some proper benefit. Granted, if you're doing some bigger shipments, you might want to do a little bit more to get to that 4x multiplier without going all the way overboard, which I don't know. Let's see what that is. I don't know, 60, 70K. Maybe you want to do shipments like that. That could be worth it. But as far as the dust and farming, I would heavily recommend if you're struggling for gold, start limiting these guys. I think I'm just going to have like maybe one rank 10 disenchanter, maybe two, and then occasionally I'll load it up with some uniques just to build up the dust for supply. But ultimately, these guys cost the second most out of all your different hires around the Kingsmarch, and I think they're the least worth to do in terms of how much resources you need to generate with farmers. You need a lot less dust to really take advantage of it, from what I can tell. Now, last but not least, the thing I haven't been able to test yet, but I did upgrade all the way, is maximum rank mapping. I will say this. Early on, I tried mapping. The dudes just died repeatedly. They weren't consistent. I think this is basically an all or nothing thing where you really want to have rank 10 mappers. I've been told from multiple people that the mappers seem like they're worth it. I've seen posts of people getting mirrors, but I have to be honest, they're so expensive gold-wise. Until you're really juicing like some T17s or a lot of gold, you can't really afford to pay these guys. I would just ignore this until you're just pumping way more gold than you actually need. And at that point, it might be worth paying some mappers to do a lot of your extra T16s. I think there's going to be some good value here, but I will say proceed with caution and do not start worrying about this thing until you have a lot more extra gold in your coffers, because it's super expensive and it could just hamstring your ability to upgrade your other buildings and trade and stuff like that. And I would wait on mapping. That's my general recommendations. Overall, I think farming is very important to upgrade. These things give you access to raw currency from shipping. So I'd upgrade and try to get T10 farmers and supply those guys with gold. And then ores and mines, that's kind of up to you. You could ultimately probably just ignore the ores and mine stuff. But the one crux of the issue is if you do that, then you will not, you'll get locked out of being able to swap over to the next basically loot thing in the various docks and stuff. So I'm going to continue doing mines and ores just so I can continue to fulfill these requests. And ultimately, you know, maybe we could hit a Mage Blood or some crazy T0 unique stuff like that could happen from sending ores. So I'm going to keep doing them, but I'm less impressed. I would say if you're looking at the Kingsmarch and you don't necessarily want to touch the league mechanic, I understand that, but it's probably pretty worth just to do the farming to send the guys out, because they give you back big currency on a pretty regular basis. And mapping could be very good for using up your excess maps you have, because I, for example, have a lot of excess maps. I've been doing a lot of T17 mapping. I already have 600 T16s. If I could start feeding these to these dudes and them run them and me get some loot from it, that'd be pretty cool. So anyways, this is the maxed out Kingsmarch. I have to say I enjoyed the process of upgrading it, and I'm looking forward to trying to min-max my recruits. And I think that's where the real gold sink's going to be, is when I try to get a bunch of T10 farmers in my plots and stuff like that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching. Tomorrow, I think I've upgraded my gold farming strategy. I'm going to release probably an update to that, or I'm going to work on my final video on the Berserker, because this character's been popping off. I've been having a lot of fun doing a lot of T17s and just cranking out some gold and some loot. Anyways, thanks for watching, Exiles. As always, take care and peace out. Have a good one.